What's poppin', people? It's Dante, currently going for a walk here along Penn's Landing, the Delaware River. We got some construction going on. They're gonna be making a new park here. And yeah, I just wanted to turn the GoPro on and just flush out random thoughts I have along my walk. Yeah, I essentially have been using the GoPro for the past 2 years now as a way for me to think out loud and to almost just write out loud. So yeah, I just have the GoPro Mini, 720p, 30 FPS, and yeah, it's filming in 1080p, but then when I import the photos or videos, I just export it at 720p. It seems that saving the file size at a small size is better. It just makes sense to me. Ultimately, most people are viewing things mobily. I don't really think anyone's watching YouTube on the TV unless you're a boomer or something. So yeah, maybe yeah, the future 720p, as yeah, it looks fine on phone screens. Also, it just saves time when it comes to uploads. I think upload speeds are important to me, and so yeah, that's why I like it. And in terms of workflow, if I actually speak out loud to the GoPro like I currently am, go home, upload a video, I can actually access the transcript through the description of my YouTube video, which allows me to then copy and paste the transcript. I can then send it to ChatGPT and have it respond to me, organize my thoughts in my voice into a blog post. So you can essentially write essays, write blog posts, and create in this new flow state of speaking, and maybe even without having to use the voice dictation on a phone and an iPad, where I've written in the past 2 years now using the voice dictation on the phone with the click of the microphone button where the keyboard is. And yeah, you can speak out loud and write, but honestly, this seems to be way more efficient, way more effective, and way more authentic. As, to be honest, if ChatGPT and AI is going to take over writing, maybe video and doing sort of like raw, uncut video like this will be the future of sort of putting out information, putting out thoughts, etc. Because yeah, you can clearly see my face, my lips moving, whatever. And then just let the ChatGPT do the rest for the written content. Yeah, this may be my mode of operation going forward. It just seems to be so efficient. And yeah, I'm just sharing thoughts about that. Shooting with the GoPro, or the Ricoh, of course. I've got the Ricoh GR3X. Still shooting with the small JPEGs, high contrast black and white. Thinking that by November 20th, whatever, around the end of November, Thanksgiving time, yeah, that will actually be the 2-year mark of me transitioning to this new workflow of shooting this way in black and white. And yeah, I'm looking forward to going through the results. It seems that my Google Photos, where I back up all of my small JPEGs from my iPad, is filling up rapidly. I have around 7,500 photos, I believe, uploaded to the cloud. So yeah, those will be the selections I wind up having to go through by the end of this year. Yeah, I think the new workflow is providing me a lot more joy in my photography and my everyday life, because I'm not necessarily limiting myself to photographing in certain situations, times of day, etc., but actually just allowing myself to wander and to photograph in this new approach of snapshotting. Using a compact camera seems to be supreme because it just fits in your pocket and you can go along your life and just photograph in this sort of stream of becoming, or treating it essentially like a visual diary. And yeah, I think actually what's going to be interesting as well as reviewing the photographs is the fact that I've been recording my thoughts out loud for the past 2 years, and you're going to be able to see my entire evolution through the photographic work and my thoughts, which is cool. And I've been enjoying the idea of sharing in numerous ways, and doing so by making my own website blog has been the most amazing, liberating workflow solution, because I essentially have my own domain where I can do whatever I want with. So it unlocks this idea of me not necessarily just creating photographs, but also videos, written word, using ChatGPT, sharing my behind the scenes contact sheets, you know, just anything is possible. And when I think of the difference between using an Instagram and using a website, it's essentially like, think of the website as a blank sheet of paper and you can essentially do whatever you want with it. but the grid of an Instagram feed essentially locks you in and constrains you to a box. And yeah, I want to be outside the box, think outside the box, and create outside the box, and color outside the lines. And it seems that I find a website to be this sort of endless canvas, this endless blank sheet for you to start on each and every day. There's just so much more to do, and it's essentially transformed a lot in terms of how I think about the presentation of photographs and also why photograph. Because essentially when you have your own website, you're not necessarily getting instant feedback or comments, likes, etc. So it's allowing me to photograph in this autotelic approach where I'm simply making photos because I absolutely love making photos, detached from any feedback. And yeah, I think this is the best place to be. You know, like one thought I've had was like, you know, if you were to make photos for the rest of your life and no one saw them, would you still make them? I mean, personally, I would. I feel as though the joy of just making pictures and the process itself is what brings me joy and meaning. And so yeah, by disconnecting from the Instagram, I'm actually fueling my creativity 1,000 times more than ever before. And so yeah, with that, I am now enjoying the sort of beginning of fall, trying to maximize the sun exposure. I'm obviously walking without my shirt. Yeah, just enjoying the sun today. I feel as though for the next week we'll probably have one last week of good weather, and then who knows, we'll start to get a little bit colder. Jackets and sweaters will come out. But yeah, I'm just enjoying my perimeter walk. I do this march every weekend where I essentially walk along the outskirts, river to river, and I cover the entire city. And I enjoy having a bowl of beef pho. And the reason why I like having a bowl of beef pho once per week is because I subscribe to a 100% carnivore diet and stay extremely disciplined every single day, eating one meal at night, fasting. But on a weekend like this, one time out of the week, I like to enjoy a treat, and I have beef pho as so. And I think actually, when you consider the word restaurant is interesting because the word derives from to restore. And the first restaurants were in Paris, in 18th century Paris, places on the street where street vendors sold healing broths that actually restored your physical body. And the only true restaurant, considering the etymological meaning of restaurant, look at this dead rat or dead mice, whatever it is, the only real restaurant are Vietnamese beef pho places, because the bone broth that contains collagen through these beautiful organ meats like tripe or muscle tendons and bone broth and beef. And then of course you have the rice noodles, which are carbohydrates, but it's not the biggest deal. If you're looking for the most healing food in a restaurant, yeah, I essentially treat it like medicine each week. And combining this beef pho once a week with beef liver or calf liver, yeah, organ meats in general, I think is the solution to restoring the body, because there are properties in collagen specifically that you get from the bone broth that actually repair the cells, repair the skin's elasticity. It helps with muscle cramps or joints that are feeling a bit sore and stiff. I've had a cut on my face one time that went away after having lots of bone broth and organ meats. I feel as though there are healing properties to food, and I consider meat as medicine. And so every week I have my bowl of medicine. I have my bowl of pho. And so that's where I'm headed now. And what I've learned also when considering protein is the word protein itself also etymologically derives from of first importance. And so perhaps when looking at the food pyramid, the demonization of red meat at the top of the pyramid, advised for us to eat sparingly, is something that we need to contemplate and consider more critically. And I feel as though you must think for yourself about these things, and maybe studying etymology is a good way to get to the root of what things mean and the truth. And so I find that by eating red meat maximally, I feel better. I'm getting stronger. I'm more beautiful. You know, the cholesterol within red meat is synthesizing the vitamin D on in my cells and giving me this beautiful tan skin, and I'm losing fat and gaining muscle, and I'm becoming a better person through feeling better, because the more I enhance the way I feel physically, the more I have sharp clarity of the brain. I have a much more happy, joyous day generally, because I have meat as the primary food in my diet. And yeah, it just makes me an overall better person, which is just funny. And I get better sleep, you know, life goes around. And yeah, I think that, yeah, I think the world would be a better place if everyone just started eating more meat, maybe. I actually never feel hungry because of the satiation of the food being so dense with nutrients, that you can essentially go an entire day fasting if you're eating only meat. And yeah, this makes me contemplate this modern world where we essentially become the ultimate consumers. In nature, we are producers, right? We are hunters. And I think of this lifestyle that I've adopted more of a primal lifestyle, right? Wearing the barefoot shoes, walking and standing throughout the day. I'm essentially simulating what it was like to be a hunter-gatherer. I actually haven't sat down in 2 years, which sounds funny, but it's true. I genuinely am standing upright and walking 30,000 steps every day, filled with energy and vitality. And this to me is what makes life worth living, right? A life full of vitality is the only life worth living. And Friedrich Nietzsche, he has a disdain for weakness, and I've read all of his books this past year and have come to the conclusion that weakness is evil. For the weak body inevitably will have a weak mind, and a weak-minded person, well, these people will destroy. And I think maybe it's best for us to bring back physical training. Perhaps the politicians and government officials should be required, you know, to have a physical test, right? You know, maybe we need to bring back the physical and health requirements in order to be a leader, in order to be somebody who holds power politically or in government. I think this is something that we should return to sort of think more about health and fitness and vitality and put that at the forefront, and then everything else will fall into place. All of the good things will come from that. But weakness, this is the ultimate tragedy in life, and this is the ultimate feeling of defeat. You know, imagine going to lift your body weight up on a pull-up bar and not being able to do so, or to not be able to do more than 5 push-ups. You know, this for me is the ultimate tragedy, and the ultimate feeling of weakness really does lead to this bad behavior pattern where perhaps the weak will inevitably try to defeat the strong through nefarious means, because their bodies are weak and their minds are weak. And when you have a weak body and a weak mind, you will do anything necessary to destroy and to conquer through nefarious means. And this to me is something worth thinking more so about, you know, where the ancient Greeks, they highly valued the physical nature of life. You know, to have a strong body and to have a strong mind was something so important and at the forefront of antiquity and all of these ancient cultures. I feel like we need to revive that. I mean, why not, right? I mean, think about it. When you consider the modern world and the way in which we live and work and live sedentary lifestyles, right? Think of the vehicle and the car. I mean, this to me is a tragedy. Having to be sat in a car, it's like being a big baby in a stroller. You know, having to sit down and to shut up and to take orders all day in an office for 8 hours. You know, this to me is a defeat. You know, this to me is, I believe, what's causing weakness within the mind and the body of our people. And this is something I'm really, really, really passionate about, because it makes me angry. And I think that that anger and that fury that you feel is a normal feeling. You know, it's something that we should actually think more about, is anger, you know, and how can you transmute that energy into good deeds and good good acts, or weightlifting, or thinking and writing and making art. You know, maybe anger is the ultimate fuel to the fire, you know, where when I'm walking and I'm moving and contracting my muscles throughout the day, or if I'm standing upright, you know, I feel as though nothing can break my spirit, nothing can break my lust for life. You know, if I feel anger, it's very easy to curb, but I'm aware of these feelings of lust. I'm aware of these feelings of anger and fury and rage and sadness, and how they do become something worth affirming. You know, for if I were to live a life without sadness, if I were to live a life without anger, if I were to live a life suppressed of all emotion and be perfectly placated to and have perfect every comfort and luxury in the world, I would feel like a docile sheep. I would feel like a slave. I would feel weak. But to have that balance between anger and sadness, and to find this median, is wise. I recently read the Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle, and he describes this notion of eudaimonia and the virtues required to reach this state being justice, temperance, prudence, courage, and wisdom, right? There's these certain traits that you must possess in order to reach a state of flourishing. And to flourish, you know, and to have high vitality, I feel as though that's the only life worth living, to thrive, not just to survive, right? For when you are thinking more so about reaching the greatest version of yourself and striving upwards, this is where you find meaning in life. And I feel as though we try to numb ourselves in this modern world. We try to maybe suppress our emotional state through drugs, whether it be even just vaping or watching TikToks and all of this kind of like modern stuff that kind of just distracts the masses, whether it's television and movies or video games. You know, these things are suppressing the emotional state of the human being, where you can be perfectly content and perfectly put in line, and you'll, you know, just kind of sit there and be numb, and you're not going to ever feel happy or sad again. You'll just be perfectly content. And this to me is a life not worth living. I love reveling in the ups and the downs, and I feel as though the idea that Nietzsche famously talks about in his works being amour fati, the love of fate, it really, I believe, has me contemplate the notion of affirming life and affirming that feeling of rage, affirming that feeling of lust or greed, affirming that feeling of sadness, you know, affirming that feeling of joy. And, you know, maybe joy and laughter, you know, being the ultimate sign of joy, we should laugh loud, we should cry loud, we should be mad, you know, and thrive through it all, you know, for maybe after all, our inevitable fate is death, and to love it and to affirm it and to recognize it each and every morning when I wake up. It really does set my thoughts and my body into perspective, where each day I treat it like my last. And, you know, maybe this could be my last dance, and if it is, well, let's revel in it and let's create the greatest dance that we could ever make. You know, maybe that's the goal. It's to actually affirm life itself, for life could be suffering and is suffering for each and every one of us. But if we all recognize that and affirm it, well, then doesn't that make you want to go out there and dance and sing and cry and pout and moan and groan and do all of the things that you want in life? Or will you simply sit back and be complacent and content with just the perfect comfort and the perfect mediocre life that we're currently going towards as a people generally? You know, mediocrity is something that we preach. Equality will lead to mediocrity. But let's strive for excellence. Let's strive to go beyond, and let's strive to become the Ubermensch and the greatest version of ourselves.